I'd like to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everybody. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Luther Burbank High's design team. Welcome and thanks for joining us. Come on up.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands.
All right. No, can't leave. You gotta stay right there. Stay right there. So Member Vang.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight I have the honor of presenting a certificate on behalf of our board to the Luther Burbank High School design team, led by one of our amazing teacher, Mr. Andrew Woodward. This year, Luther Burbank High design team won Best Show for their project shed, AKA a tiny house, at the Sacramento Builders Exchange event. Luther Burbank High design team competed against 15 different high schools in the Sacramento region at Cosumnes River College. I believe the house took about 2 days to build, from 8 to 5. And the Sacramento Builders Exchange event has been around for about 31 years, and Luther Burbank has been a participant in the last 15 years. I'm extremely proud of all of our students who are part of the design team. As a board, it's important for us to recognize and continue to support cutting-edge, rigorous, and relevant career and technical education that prepares our young folks, not only for college if they so choose, but also, as our new superintendent, Jorge Aguilar, would put it, we also want all of our students to graduate with the greatest number of post-secondary choices from the widest array of options. And that means being prepared for careers that are in high demand in the region. Thank you to all the family members who are here supporting the students. I also want to take this time to thank the incredible staff, Jim Peterson and Mr. Woodward, for all the great work at Luther Burbank High School. And I also want to thank especially our partners who made it all possible. And to the board, if you have a chance, and to the folks in the audience, make sure you stop by in front of CERNA to see the tiny home that our students built. The house will be donated to Kavana. They're an organization that works with homeless veterans. The Luther Burbank design team will be donating their tiny house to this organization. And the team actually plans to finish 3 houses, including this one, when school starts back up. So again, congratulations. And I'll hand this over to you guys so you can say a few words.
Hello, my name is Daniel Toro, and I was a foreman. Hello. My name is Daniel Toro. I was a foreman at the SRBX competition. I recently graduated high school, and with the competition, I was able to get the job at Skyline Scaffolding.
Congratulations.
Hello, my name is Joel Martinez. I was safety at the design build this year, and I recently graduated, and I was able to get a job at Skyline Scaffolding as well.
Awesome.
Hello, my name is Pablo Cervantes. I recently graduated also from Luther Burbank High School, and I was able to get into an internship with the PLA for Clark Sullivan.
Great. Everybody's going to do it.
Hello, my name is Earl Angel, and right now I'm still a student of Luther Burbank High School. It's my last year, and yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Michelle Lopez. I just graduated from Luther Burbank High School, and I'm going to start CRC in the spring.
Cool.
Hello, my name is Jose Luna Gutierrez. I participated in a design build competition. My role was a lead framer.
My name is Alexi Gasca. I'm a junior in Luther Burbank High School right now.
Hello, my name is Carlos Gutierrez. I participated in in the design build. I was the cutter for all the things, and right now I'm a senior now, and I'm an intern at Landmark Construction.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ariel Puentes, and I was part safety, like backup safety in case he wasn't there in the design build, also helped build it. And I have an internship with Landmark Construction, and I will be attending Sacramento City College this spring. No, wait, fall. Yeah.
Great. Congratulations.
And then Andy, why don't you say a few words? And I think Kavana, I think they're here as well. I would love to
Yeah,
also.
and we have Kavanaugh here.
Absolutely.
And so we have Lisa Kwasnich and Sean, I don't remember Sean's last name. Arnhart. And so we have a total of 5 kids right now in the project labor agreement, out working at 5 school sites, or at our school sites. We have McClatchy, Kit Carson at Washington Elementary that we have students at this year. So 3 of them we got through the internships, through them it actually helped get them jobs. Pablo's trying to figure out where he's going to go. He has a couple of different options. The carpenters want to hire him like right now, but he's looking at different trades just so he's keeping the options. So that's kind of a cool thing to keep in mind. A year ago when we got into this, it was kind of brought to me by Jim Peterson and said, hey, you want to do this? I go, yeah, sounds great. I didn't know that was going to be building a whole different way that we do our program at Burbank and what it brings to the kids, even though we had a construction program before, it's kind of like helped infuse it to give them self-worth so they could actually see real life stuff to it. So, and then Kavanaugh has been like standing on their support for our stuff. And so I want Lisa and Sean to talk about, their experiences also.
Hi, I'm Lisa Kwasnick. I'm with Kavanaugh. We're a housing nonprofit in the Sacramento area. And the way this came about is my husband had a dream. November of 2015, one of our co-founders happened to be on the Luther Burbank campus talking with Mr. Peterson. And there he is. And we noticed that Luther Burbank was doing an amazing job building beautiful garden sheds. And we had said, what if we turn those garden sheds into tiny houses? So Luther Burbank High School was the pioneer program, and last year, the first tiny house that they built went to Sean Barnhart, and I'll let him tell you a little bit more about the story. That way you see the impact that these students are having in the community.
Hello, my name is Sean Barnhart. Thank you for your time, and I'd like to say that, first of all, thank you for all these wonderful builders for building a tiny home. And it was a year ago, I was on Arcade Creek in a tent, living moment by moment, day by day, having no future. And because of the tiny home giving me an address and a roof over my head, something stable, I was able to throw away that EBT card. I now have a debit card with money in the bank and a Master credit card. A secured MasterCard. And I have a van that I drive to work every day. And that's all because of being placed in the tiny home. So the tiny house is all about changing lives, not the landscape. So thank you one and all, and God bless everyone.
Thank you. Great. Well, while Member Vang is bringing that down, I just want to say, I spent 10 years working in the construction industry, and the people that I worked with in apprenticeships, not only is it a great opportunity to, you're taking college level programs when you're doing your apprenticeship and getting college credit if you decide to go into that industry, but people got to, learn while, they earn while they learn. And I know that's just a great opportunity right out of high school. And it also helped people graduate because it's hard to understand sometimes why you're taking algebra or geometry or some of these classes are kind of esoteric. They don't seem like they tie to anything, but when you're doing the work that you're doing now, you see that it really is valuable and that there's real skills that are involved in that. So I want to congratulate all of you, every one of you who's been part of this. What a great program, and we're so proud of what's happening at Burbank. So thank you very much. I'll turn it back over to Member Vang.
Quick photo.
Sure, scoot together.
Together, please.
Some folks want to get it on here. Okay,
If you could build a house, you can squeeze yourselves together. Right, and we have a comment by Mr. Minnick.
Yeah, so I just, first of all, okay, so on my way in here, I got to hang out inside that little house, probably maybe longer than they wanted me to, but I wanted to take a nap in there. It was so comfy. It was gorgeous, and the fact that you guys are putting this, amazing stuff together is huge. And I want to congratulate you on the work you're doing, because this is just one example of kind of all the stuff you're doing. And I really appreciate this real world learning. And we talk a lot about students getting the opportunity to prepare for the real world, but this isn't preparing for the real world. This is a real world. And Mr. Barnhart out there is a perfect example of how this can really affect people's lives. And so you're not just learning about how to, operate in the world after school, but you're making things happen right now. And we really appreciate all the levels that this influences people. So great job, everybody.
Well, thank you once again. Really appreciate it. We go to announcements of action taken in closed session.
Yes, Mr. President, one announcement out of closed session. By unanimous vote, the board approved a settlement agreement regarding a special education matter identified as OEH case number 2017-060-369. That concludes the announcements out of closed session, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? And a second. Very good. All in favor? Abstain, opposed? The agenda is adopted. And we'll move to Dr. Alt with a special presentation. Dr. Stacy Alt. Oh. Blacks making a difference. Come on down. Welcome.
Good evening, President Hansen, Superintendent, members of the board. I'm Dr. Stacy Alt, Youth Development Director, coming from a long day of Summer of Service Showcase, which was really amazing. So I'm not going to say anything other than introduce these students. Blacks Making a Difference. They're going to give you all of the information that you need to learn more about the work that they've been doing. 3 high schools are represented up here. Although they're in 3 high schools in Talon around the city. So John F. Kennedy, Luther Burbank, and Sac High are represented here, and then they're also in Hiram Johnson. So I'm going to back up and take a seat and enjoy the presentation along with you all.
Thank you.
There's a video that needs to be queued.
Fraction of Black high school graduates attend college.
Mama, I got accepted into Harvard! I'm so proud of you!
However, the impact of BMAD, Blacks Making a Difference, an after-school program right here in Sacramento.
Have you started your essay for English yet? Girl, would I look like a nerd? I don't do homework. What do you mean you don't do homework? If you don't do your homework, you're not gonna pass the class. Do I look like I care about passing these classes? They don't mean nothing to me but some letters on a piece of paper. I can't make money with that. I'm gonna be a trapper once I get out of here. And you don't need to go for that, just street smart.
Trapping. a term used to describe selling drugs.
Wait a minute, you sound so ignorant right now. Your education is the passport to your future. Do you even know who Malcolm X is? You're tripping. Is Malcolm X gonna pay my bills? No? Oh, okay. Now I have somewhere to be. Bye. Wait, hold on, time out. I'm the president of this club called BMAD, okay? Black's making a difference. Work with the black youth to help get them on a path of success. Come to one class and I swear I'll leave you alone. Deal, and I'm lying. Wait, time out. Just take this card, please, just so that you don't forget to show up. Okay.
Hey, girl, get the class.
Look, here they come.
All right, guys. We're gonna get started. We got lots of different things to talk about today. Welcome back from the weekend. We're gonna talk about so many different things, life after high school, things of that nature. Hey, how's it going? What's your name?
Good, my name is Betsy.
What brings you in?
She told me to come.
Melissa. Okay, well, if Melissa invited you in, you're in a good place. You're welcome. Have a seat wherever you like, open seating, wherever you're most comfortable.
Hey, come sit over here. Yeah, come sit with us.
All right. So today we're talking about college. We're talking about the academic after high school, right? There's all different type of colleges and universities, right? You got private schools, UC, CSUs, community colleges. Before we talk about the different ways to get there, it's important to understand where we stand, right? And for that, we need our GPAs, right? So go ahead and pull up your GPA if you have it, save somewhere, or calculate it if you don't know it yet. So I'm gonna give you guys about 2 minutes to figure that out, and I'll check back in with you.
What do you got? Oh, I have a 4.2. I'm thinking about going to Stanford University.
Oh, okay. How are you gonna get there?
I'm making sure I take all my classes seriously and use my resources.
Okay. What about you?
I have a 3.9. I'm thinking about going to UC Davis.
Oh, how do you plan to get there?
By taking all my classes seriously.
Okay, that's cool.
What do you got?
I think I have a 1.2 and I don't want to go to college.
Really? That's crazy.
I hear that. You don't want to go to college, Destiny? Destiny, what do you want to do after high school?
I think I'm gonna just be a trapper. That's how my mom made her money. And she's fine, so I will too.
You could be so much more. Why settle for the stereotypes?
Right, this place isn't set up for us, but you can still make the best of it. Knowledge is power. We're all here to gain knowledge and be powerful together as a family.
But I'm not good at anything. I can't do the things you guys want to do. I've never been good at school.
There's no such thing as not being good at school. It's all about using your resources. Like BMAT, that's what we're here for.
What do you need help with?
Everything.
Well, I can tutor you in math. That's my best subject.
And I can tutor you in English. I'm good at writing.
Okay, I guess that works.
Oh, hey girl, you wanna do some studying?
Yeah. What about your party? Yeah, like my party days are over.
Mama, I got accepted into Harvard. So proud of you.
Now,
You're gonna get close.
guess what?
What?
This car I got accepted into Harvard.
Congratulations! I knew you make it.
This class is unbelievable. I don't know where I would be without you all. You guys helped me find my true purpose and identity, and you guys helped me out when I showed no potential. And I really appreciate you guys for that. Thank you.
You made this class to me.
You are so welcome.
All right, Mama, you ready?
Yes.
I love you too, Mom. Proud.
Let's go get something to eat. I'll take you to school later.
I'm not sure about that yet.
Hey, wait a minute. I have something. Here, take this, and please go to school. It's worth it.
So you coming or not?
I don't think so. I think I'm going to school.
Wow.
Education is power.
Education is the passport to our future, and the future is the youth. Our main priority is making real change and not ignoring the truth.
The PowerPoint.
Yeah. It's a PowerPoint, actually. Oh, okay.
In the past, we had minimal support from the school board and minimal student involvement with our community, and we were setting low standards for ourselves instead of setting barriers that we knew we could achieve because we know we could go further than that. And here we've been doing many community breakfasts, and this is a picture of we went to the Women's March and we served them food. Now we've moved to a new location, so we've actually been able to have more people from our community come to our breakfasts and break bread with them. And we've established we've had more people in the community, so we work with people who works in the community and does like colleges and stuff. And most of our students, we have more involvement with students and more student involvement, so most of our students have been going higher and further places in life.
How you? Okay, we left this slide blank intentionally because basically our future will be determined by our ability to work in solidarity to achieve common goals. Basically, it was one of the meetings, and Miss Stacy told me to come, and it was with the superintendent. And he basically one of the things he pointed out to me was that one of his main goals as being superintendent was for every student to be able to go to higher education, basically, and they could go to any college that they want to, not just the colleges that are around where they live or whatever. And so, with that being said, BMI was able to send 20 graduating seniors off to basically BMAT gave them the tools to go to any college that they want. There's some that got accepted into HBCUs, CSUs, UCs, all that type of colleges. And I think there's a couple of students that voluntarily chose to start at a JC college and then go on to a four-year university once they did what they had to do in junior college. One of the tools was, I don't know if she gave it to you yet. It's a rubric you guys are supposed to have. Yeah, that's basically a way for them to self-advocate for themselves to determine whether they're off track or on track throughout the school year. So that's one of the tools that we used.
Throughout the 5 years of progression that BMAT has gone through, we have pinpointed four key recommendations that we put in our list of recommendations that we gave to all of you before at our last meeting. So recommendation number 5 with the Student Resource Center, that's basically creating that safe haven for those students to get those resources that they need in a space that's comfortable for them. Recommendations 8 and 9 are monthly assessments and reportings and check-ins with all teachers and students just to make sure that everyone is on track and being held accountable to the standards that they should. And the culturally relevant tutoring from recommendation 11, just to make sure that no student is left behind. So we all are very looking forward to getting down to work and turning our recommendations into a reality with you all. Thank you.
That's your presentation. Well, thank you very much. Oh, you have a comment on this item?
Yes, we do. Are they,
Oh, well, you take a seat. Join us here, and Ms. Anderson is coming up and joining us, and then I think there's a couple of comments from the board too.
Darlene Anderson?
Hi, good evening. Although it's a really positive thing to have youth advocating for the services that they receive, it's a real clarity, and I understand what racism is really about, because African Americans are not controlling any resources, any financial services, any services, citywide, statewide, nationwide. Our people don't have a voice in the outcomes and public services that are provided to them. And see, I really didn't understand what was going on. How come I couldn't advocate for the behavioral things that were happening in our district with our kids getting a jacket from kinder to 8th grade? Now I understand it's about the money. And although we have agencies that partner with you as third-party providers, very few of them get a little bit of money for African Americans. There's quite a bit of money goes in the Asian community, more than $8 million. Same thing for La Familia. But when you look into the Black community, there's little or no dollars. And the few people that you do support with limited resources, and they don't have a voice. Just as I have been coming here for more than 20 years, I have been limited to my voice in the oversight of what happens with our children. I admire these young people because they've decided to take a stance in how education is being brought to them, and they're bringing attention to it at their school site. But the real issue is that what are you board members going to do? How are you going to ensure that change happens for African American children? These children can make a difference in their own lives, but they can't make a difference for what's happening in the district for all of our children. And thank you, young people, for stepping up. And thank you, board, for allowing them to come and speak.
Thank you, Darlene. Member Ryan?
Thank you. I know that we don't have before us tonight the BMAD recommendations that were put together that were shared with the board previously. Just in case board members don't have that in their inbox, I would love to request that you send them out again, since they were such very sophisticated, well thought out policy recommendations. And so if you would please share that with us. I want to thank all of the youth for their powerful voices and the hard work you're doing of both delivering student supports and continuing to talk about systems change. That is incredibly mature and necessary for what we know is an absolutely unacceptable achievement gap that currently exists in the district. And then I want to also recognize Dr. Stacy Alt for her leadership in helping to advance the Blacks Making a Difference work. And finally, just wanted to say, for those of you who don't know, Melissa Bordeaux closed out last night's reception for Superintendent Jorge Aguilar that Mayor Steinberg hosted, and delivered an incredibly powerful spoken word that she had created called Our Colorful Nation. And it really needed no introduction because the power of her voice is unstoppable. So thank you, Melissa.
Okay, well, I'll add in, definitely appreciated the presentation last night, so thanks a lot for that. And for this presentation here, and I'm going to give Dr. Alt an assignment to help work with these young ladies, and we'd like to have this item presented to the Budget Committee of the district, and from there is where we make our financial decisions about where we're going to invest our money in the district. So that would be the next step of the process to, making this a formal proposal and being able to bring it back to the board as an actual budget recommendation. So Member Wu is the chair of that committee, and we can work with Dr. Alt on that. Member Cochran.
Thank you. Thank you, students. Melissa, I noticed in the video that there was a card that was handed out. Is this a card that is just for student to student, or is this something you can share with board members? So if they see an opportunity for someone who might benefit from your group, that we could hand them such a card? Okay, and I also, I'd like to connect with you off of the podium about what's going on at Hiram Johnson. Thank you.
Right. Seeing no other comments, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Do you have any public comment?
Yes, we have two cards, Pam Borowski and Darlene Anderson. Please come up.
Oh, okay. Well, before you speak, let me ask our newest board member needs to read a statement. So, Member DeWin.
This meeting of the Sacramento City School Board is being recorded in its entirety and will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T UVerse. Today's meeting will air Sunday, August 6th at 9:30 p.m., Monday, August 7th at 7 p.m., and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. We welcome members of the audience to address the board. Please fill out a speaker form located in the back of the community room and give them to our communications representative prior to the conclusion of the item's presentation. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Please limit comments during public comment to items that are not on the agenda. If you do comment on an item that is on the agenda, we ask that you please defer your comments until your item comes up on the agenda. Please turn off your cell phones or place them on silent or vibrate. Thank you.
Thank you. Please. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pamela Morosky, and I'm from the Office of Water Programs at California State University, Sacramento. And I'm addressing you with an appeal to investigate a water academy or certification pathway in the energy, environment, and utilities career cluster. The Office of Water Programs at CSUS seeks to partner with schools in the SCUSD to educate and train students for water operations. A career in the water industry offers students an excellent pathway with tremendous potential for growth and advancement with minimal investment. The education requirement for entry-level operators is a high school diploma or GED and a short technical training. The median salary is over $45,000 per year. That's a very large return on investment. California has a faster than average job growth rate of 8%, and other states such as Colorado, Texas, and Arizona expect job growth of 17, 18, and 19% respectively. Your district offers many career and technical opportunities for students, and adding this program of study from the energy cluster will allow them to complete high school with a certification and credential that will allow immediate access to well-paying, high-demand occupation. I'm going to leave my card in the back and some information about this training program, and I hope that you will contact me, and I will be in contact with you and the schools. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Member Cochran?
Ma'am,
Anderson?
excuse me, would you give me your
Other
card?
board comments, I think, to you, so a little
Yeah,
out of the
thank
ordinary,
you.
but we.
Would you
but we
be
do.
kind enough to leave your information with me, and I will share it with the board for sure, but I'd like to have it here.
Yes, ma'am, I'll do
Thank
that.
you.
Thank you.
And Member Pritchett?
That's exactly what I was going to ask.
Wonderful. We're in
Yes,
sync.
would you like me to bring it up now? Okay, sure.
Sure. Thanks so much. Our next speaker?
So when I was younger, and participating on the DAC, and those kind of things would kind of happen with the administrators. The public would contact them and, organize what the city has to offer and try to start that training program. They wouldn't have to come all the way to the board and wait for the board to tell the staff what to do. I don't know, it's kind of a little backwards. But let me just talk about what I wanted to talk about, the zero tolerance and the behavioral stuff that should have come through the LCAP process and that quite freely has not been addressed yet in this district. And to me, welcome, Superintendent. You have a big job. I don't envy you a bit. But I will say, to me, the plantation offered a lot of behavioral modification. The offer of FAPE in California is an offer of FAPE, whether it be behavioral or academic. We're putting too many children on the street. And when you look at African-American children, they're not making it at all. The offer of FAPE for an African-American child had to do with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment that said that California would offer their youth who had formerly been enslaved an opportunity to get a basic education. We are putting these children in jail. We are creating a jacket that starts from kinder, and I'd like to see the data on how many kids actually have behavioral problems from kinder all the way to the 8th grade. So we know exactly what's happening, and that perhaps the board can give some recommendations to staff about what can be done to transition those students to, instead of collecting data, because the jacket is real. It follows them right to juvenile hall. And I just think that, being who I am, I've been very outspoken. I've been very successful with my children, but unable to be helpful to other parents, simply because when I go to their IEP meetings, nobody does anything. They just sit. So the last 2 years that I worked with the high school student at John F. Kennedy, he still only got no credits. And he tried to do the summer program thing, but it was unsuccessful simply because he has some needs that have not been met. And I would just like to see more effective use of our public tax dollars, especially since we're all required to pay the same tax dollar and every student generates the same amount of money, but the voices are not being heard clearly. So I would like to see African-American people having more of an opportunity to work and engage with communication with the board for more accountability. I'd just like to see that happen. And so thank you for letting me go over the minute.
Yep, thank you very much. Any other public comment?
No, but we do have some items on, some cards for consent agenda.
Okay. Well, we are now on the consent agenda, so why don't we, or
9.1A, Darlene Anderson,
okay, next.
and then
Oh,
9.1.
Darlene, come on down. And then who else? Any others on 9.1A?
No others on 9.1A. We have 4 cards on 9.1D, single plan.
But you can start the clock
Under
at
9.1,
2
which
minutes.
is
Hold on one second. Start the
Which is
clock
a
at
consent
2.
agenda?
Yeah, in 2 minutes.
Okay, no problem. I'll do both of them. The consent agenda has the single plans for student achievement in there included, and they have not really been brought before the public, but they're on the consent agenda. It's really kind of difficult for community to have some accountability or even have some understanding of what the schools are doing and their outcomes because they're not presented yet. And as far as American Legion, from my understanding and when I was really looking into the school, was funded like a K-8. And the services that they provided there were really not measurable. Although there are some partners, third-party people providing some services, not really in the school, but behind the school, it doesn't change things that happen for those children that are attending the school and the purpose that they're attending for. And so it's kind of huge to see what they want to do. I'm really trying to understand how they really talk to the community that's most affected, which is American Legion parents and people. You know, sure it's an opportunity. I'm sure it's an opportunity, but I would like to know that the community was actually engaged over there in Oak Park. Because I know that the American Legion students come from all over Sacramento. And so I think that those people who are most affected by the continuation process of being forced over there and dropping out, I think that we really need to know what's going on. So a lot of those opportunities should be created for job training for kids who are not going to graduate. So that's like the partnership with the water people. I'd like to see more of our kids getting employment. And so thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. Since our president has stepped away, I'm going to go ahead and respond to that comment since I had requested to speak. So I agree with you that we do need to have a deeper conversation on the single plan for student achievement. But I do want to say on American Legion, I invite you to come and do a tour with me. There's some transformative work that's going on right now in partnership with families, including working with students to have additional services, trauma-informed practices, sisterhood, which is through the SHINE program, Fight Club, which is working on self-esteem and harnessing anger, and then working on post-secondary options. We have a new principal who is also deeply committed to the community and out talking with and for students.
Mhm.
So I would like to bring you to visit American Legion.
I'd like to visit, and I'd also like to say the one thing is that since it is a community resource, people who are faced with being placed there should have an opportunity to have input on it also. Thank you.
Just for the information of the folks coming up, we will be pulling item 9.1D, or it'll be proposed to be pulled and be heard as a standing item at the next board meeting. Just FYI, we can't do that motion until we have public comment, but I thought it might be germane to the folks who are coming that we will be having that as a regular item. We needed to make sure that if we did that, you're not allowed to spend any of the funds at the sites until this is approved by the board. So we wanted to make sure it wasn't going to impact any of the school programs. And because school doesn't start for another week till after the next board meeting, we'd be able to have the discussion at the next board meeting, and then if it's approved, then the sites councils or the sites will be able to spend their dollars. So just FYI to the other 3 speakers who may be coming up.
John Perryman, Liz Guillen, and Angela Sutherland.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hi, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'm John Perryman, teacher here since '86, whole extended family gone through Sac City. I went through Sac City. Still have nephews and nieces in Sac City. So 10 years ago, okay, so the single plan for student achievement calls for Title I money to face the scrutiny of school site councils. 10 years ago, Luther Burbank High School, where I teach, was receiving about $4 million in categorical money. This plan, on the pages over here, has us receiving about $800,000. And I want you to keep that in mind while I make additional comments, because it's that $3 million drop in site funding that's motivating me. The central office for the past 7 or so years has been taking 70% of the Title I money with no scrutiny by school site councils. And the document that you guys see doesn't show it, but this $11 million is central office controlled. And only $5 million is sent to the school sites for school site council review. And then earlier, they admitted in writing that they funded 59 central office positions at a categorical money. So to summarize, the central office is taking $11 million in Title I money, hiring 59 central office positions, and they're cutting direct services to students at my school site over the past 10 years by about $3 million per year. The newspaper says that you're a reform administration. I pray to God that that is true. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming in and talking to us.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Aguilar. I'm Liz Guillen with Public Advocates. First, I want to commend the board decision for pulling off of consent the single plan for student achievement. It is so important, and the staff members who put the memo together identified the various LCAP goals that it relates to, and all 4 of your LCAP goals are referenced. Tonight, I just want to encourage everyone who's watching and who's here to go to your single plan for student achievement. One of the things I also want to note is that the district staff worked hard this year to try to ensure that both the LCAP and the single plans were aligned. I participated in some of those meetings, and I know some of the folks here did as well. And so I was very surprised when I saw it on consent, because I thought, wow, I think it's really important to share it, because as I looked at 2 specific LCAPs, I noticed some improvements. So if you look through the LCAP this year, you'll see close to $44 million in supplemental and concentration funding that's not being planned for district-wide use. Now, that's probably an overstatement of what's going to specific school sites, but that's a lot of money. And these single plans actually itemize the sources of funding that the school site councils have for their responsibility to program, which I think is really exciting, and it's something that folks on the LCAP committee and other parents and community stakeholders have asked about in years past. So I think there's a lot to be gained from really focusing on some of the good work here, and I think it can be very motivational for participation at the local school sites. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Good evening, board members and Superintendent Aguilar, and new student board member as well. Welcome. I just wanted to, I'm Angie Sutherland, and I'm a parent in the district, and I came to speak tonight to ask you to pull this item, the SIPSA's reports approval. So I'm happy that you're doing that. My reasoning is that many of us, this is the first time that we've even seen those documents, and that we just need more time, and I'm sure you do too, to look them over. And a lot of parents don't know about the school site councils, or they want to be a part of the council, and there's just not enough seats open. So I noticed that the district plans are always really vetted publicly, like the LCAP and the special ed annual plans. But the school site plans are not. And I think there's a big concern with that, with how all the challenges that our students are facing in our district. We should really be looking more closely at those. And when charter schools get approved, they have to come up and do a big presentation on how they're doing. It would be nice if school sites could also do that and share. I know there's a lot of those and not a lot of board meetings, but there should be a way for more public input on those. I was also a little troubled when I saw, I was reading through a lot of the plans, and I noticed that some of them marked off that a special education advisory committee, that they considered recommendations from a special education advisory committee. And I'm not aware of any school sites that have a special education advisory committee. I know we have our district advisory committee, but I'm not aware. I think it's great if there are those committees, but I think we need to know about them so that parents can connect with those. It gives a false impression that there's been some vetting of a stakeholder group at that school. And lastly, I wish that more schools would complete the section at the end on the reflection of strategies, the effective strategies, and then the strategies that weren't effective. Some of the schools have filled that section in, and some just leave it blank. So if this is supposed to be a report, it should be completed fully. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment? So I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar with item 9.1D pulled for the next board meeting as a standing agenda item.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The consent calendar is passed. And thank you very much for the folks who spoke about the SIPSAs. It certainly merits a more full conversation, and I think a way of integrating it more fully into our board meetings and just assuring that there's a lot of accountability from the board, but the schools, and, kind of working in partnership on that item, and we'll look forward to seeing it in 2 weeks. Now we are at 10.1. Ms. Young and Mr. Chapa. Come on down.
Good evening, Board President Hanson, members of the board, and Superintendent Aguilar. Mr. Chapa was called out of town, so tonight we have with us Mr. Rich Haley, the assistant principal at Kit Carson Middle School. We're here tonight to present the recommendation for renaming Kit Carson. Kit Carson is located in East Sacramento, and it serves students from Oak Park, Tahoe Park, Elmhurst, and beyond. As a traditional middle school, they were listed on the list for closure in 2011 and 12 due to chronic under-enrollment and low achievement. An 18-member design team of parents, staff, and community members were assigned to meet to review pertinent data, to create a strong vision for meeting the students' needs, and to research new designs and programs that could meet those needs. After meeting weekly from November through June, the team recommended an International Baccalaureate Middle Years program and Diploma Years program to be implemented at Kit Carson. The team made numerous presentations to the Board of Education, and the board approved the application for IB candidacy and training in January of 2013. As an IB candidate school, with all staff fully trained and the curriculum written, 9th grade was added to the school in the fall of 2014, with 1 grade level added each year thereafter, 10th grade in 2015, 11th grade in 2016. Since that time, the International Baccalaureate Committee has authorized both the Middle Years program for 7th through 10th graders and the Diploma program for 11th and 12th graders. The school has seen increased achievement for 3 years in a row, and on August 31st of this year, the school will open with 535 7th through 12th grade students.
Hello, Board. I would be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to say thank you to the current board members and to those that were back in 2013. It was your willingness to take a risk and think outside the box and look at redesign. That's allowed us the freedom and has empowered us to see the changes that we're seeing now. Superintendent Jorge Aguilar, though, I do want to assure you that in the light of yesterday, that we're not here to prove, right? We're focused on improving, and we have a laser focus on finding ways to support every student in our school, and we have a long ways to go still. That being said, this opportunity for us arose where we were becoming a high school, and it seemed like a great opportunity to explore not only how do we change our name from a middle school, which would look really strange on college transcript or college applications if somebody's applying from Kit Carson Middle School to UCLA. So we knew that was a necessary change, but we also thought it would be a great opportunity to explore possibly changing the name Kit Carson for a variety of reasons. And so at that time, we did form a renaming committee, including parents, community members, staff, in November of 2016 to explore these options. We discussed several different ways that we could reach out to the community and to our students. We immediately reached out to our students as one of the first things we did to get their feedback. We created a protocol and we trained some student ambassadors at each grade level to go out and meet with their grade level and gather feedback in terms of two different things. One, the name Kit Carson and what they thought about that and if they thought there was possible alternatives, and also the idea of changing the middle school to something alternative that would fit our 7 through 12 framework. We also created a very simple Google form with a link that made it easy for us to gather the exact same type of information from the community and from parents. That went out in a press release through the Sacramento Bee. Then we also posted it on our website, on our school Facebook page. It was in an ESAC magazine, I believe another Tahoe Park magazine, and also we put it on Nextdoor apps for a lot of our community areas. And we received a lot of feedback from that. From that feedback, we were able to sort it as a panel, right? As a renaming committee, we were able to sort it, discuss it, and really gather. And what really stood out very strongly was that the community had a very strong tie to the name Kit Carson. Not only the name itself, but what it meant to them as a community, and was something that overwhelmingly they were not willing to let go of. Although there were some other interesting options, it was by far that. And then there was some really interesting ideas within the changing the middle school part. Ultimately, what we came to and what we're putting forward, so after reviewing and discussing all input, our committee recommends Kit Carson International Academy as a name that honors the history of the school and links the future of learning for our students. Thank you.
So we'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Wonderful. Mr. Minnick.
So I don't have a question, but just a couple comments because I'm really excited to see this happen. I was on that original design team and then a parent at the school. I love this school. The school's amazing, and what you all have created there is incredible. And it's no surprise to me how much energy you put into making sure you got the community input you did to change his name. You know, you'd think that a name change is not that big a deal, but you guys really owned it and really made sure that you had, you know, all the stakeholders involved, and I just really appreciate that. And I'm really excited. I think you came to a cool decision honoring the history of the school and still making sure you had all the input. So I'm really excited that now as you enter into the year of having high school seniors for the first time, that they're coming into this school with a permanent name, and I think this is a really exciting time. So congratulations.
Ms. Pritchett.
Oh, I must have hit the wrong button. Sorry. Okay. So I too thank you for the community input that you got. I know that's very important that to have them weigh in on the changes that are going to take place. My questions kind of are all related to our fiscal responsibility of a name change. And though I feel that this name change is important, I was wondering if you have prepared anything to tell us what is it going to cost us to, like, and what is it associated with? Like, do we need to change add to the name on the building, letterhead, business cards, any materials that go out to parents? Like, what is associated with changing the name, and do we need to do all of it at one time, or can we do it in segments? So maybe you can explain a little bit about that.
So we're fortunate that Kit Carson was one of the schools that's currently going through the core academic renovations. And knowing that we were going to be recommending a name change, at least to go away from middle school, they have held off on creating any of the signage until the board votes. So that's already included. That's the most expensive change, are any of the signs that are outside the building or inside the building. And that group is anxiously awaiting your vote in 2 weeks to be able to move forward. Beyond that, the school stopped adding middle school to the name of things several years ago as they added 9th grade and 10th grade. So most of the other items at the school say Kit Carson, period. But the other changes we believe we will be able to host internally at the school site, so letterhead, business cards, those kinds of things, they'll be able to pay out of their own budget. So shouldn't have any impact on district.
Okay, I'm really happy to hear that. I mean, if you've seen in our board meetings, there's great needs in our district, and I know that was a worry of mine. And so the cost of the signage, it'll be taken completely out of the core renovation that's designated for your school, correct? Okay, thank you.
No other comments? No public comments? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for subbing in.
Yeah. One final comment, and it would be an invitation, if you haven't been out to Kit Carson, hopefully International Academy comes soon. The renovations are beautiful, and the change is really palpable on the campus. Thank you.
I've heard good things. Item 10.2, student wellness.
Good evening, Board President Hansen, members of the board, and Superintendent Aguilar, and a warm welcome to Superintendent Aguilar and to our student board member, Sarah Nguyen. My name is Victoria Flores, and I serve as the Director of Student Support and Health Services. And here with me tonight is Diana Flores, who's serving as the Acting Director of Nutrition Services, and Robin Kroc, our community partner with Valley Vision, who has helped facilitate this process with funding through the California Endowment. And tonight we represent the District Wellness Committee, formerly known as the Coordinated School Health Committee. And we're here to present our revisions to Board Policy 5030, the Student Wellness Policy. And this short video, let's see if I can, there we go. This short video highlights why this call to action for wellness efforts is so important, and what our students eat and are served at school and how they're able to move their bodies. So if we can play the video real quick.
I probably would make a time machine.
I would make medicine for the sick.
I'd probably invent something new.
我会赢到5个总冠军戒指。
If I could have an extra 5 years to live.
You said 5, right?
5 years. That's a long time.
I would try to fix everything I did bad.
I would bring my uncle back because I miss him very much. I would get more hamsters.
I would probably want to go looking for dark matter.
I think I'd go looking for aliens.
If I could live an extra 5 years. I was thinking about making like a helicopter, like a wooden helicopter, but I don't have any wood.
I want to go check out the moon sometime.
I'd probably teach my sister not to hate tuna.
I would try and invent a machine that lets you run at light speed. If I had 5 more extra years to live, I would be the boss of all the chipmunks.
Eu cantaria na frente de 1 milhão de pessoas.
I don't really know. I think I'd do anything. Why are you asking me that?
So thank you for letting us share that. And this is really our motivation for doing this work. And it's those students and wanting to lead the chipmunks. So that was one of my favorites. So really briefly, there are federal requirements that each district have a policy. Back in 2004, this became a requirement. Current federal regulations say that we have to update our policy by 2016. So we're a work in progress here. Our most recent policy was last updated in 2006. Although revisions were attempted in 2012, they were never finalized and brought to the board. So as you can see, we're pretty out of compliance here. In late 2015, we reconvened our district wellness committee to include numerous district staff. I think about 9 departments were involved, nurses, school nurses, teachers, parents, multiple community partners and community members. Pretty much anybody who wanted to come, we were like, please come, even if you didn't agree with us. And we had that too. So we spent pretty much all of 16 and 17 walking through the policy, literally line by line. Editing, being thoughtful about what is it we're saying, what is it we're trying to do for our students, and are we being clear? Once we had a draft, we did quite a bit of outreach. Our partners developed a 1-page infographic, and we also did an online survey. These were done in multiple languages, really trying to ask our community, what do you think? Do you understand the policy? And please give us your feedback. As a result of that, we met with multiple community organizations, including quite a few ASB classes, because our high school students had quite a few concerns about how this impacts their fundraising. And Diana's going to take you through the meat of the policy.
So just to highlight a few of the policy updates, as we want to be very clear that most of the policy updates are mandates. They are not something that we came up with on our own. There were a few things that we decided to go a little bit stricter than the federal and state requirements, and I'll speak to those in a few minutes. Additionally, you still can sell food on campus. People think that that means no food sales on campus. It means that it has to be compliant food sales. There are tools to do that on our website. California Project Lean offers a calculator where school ASBs and snack bars can enter the calories, the fat, and it'll tell them whether it's compliant or not. Compliance with wellness policies are audited by CDE during administrative review in the Nutrition Services Department. And schools, and one thing I want to talk about, physical education requirements, we brought that bullet up too because it's not all about food service and food sales on campus. There was a lot of updates in the PE section of the board policy to meet or exceed our current requirements in minutes for physical education. It's known that throughout the district there are several schools that do not meet the minimum requirements in minutes for PE. The 2 proposals that our wellness policy would like to be somewhat stricter than the federal guidelines is that the end of the school day, the requirements for school food sales on campus start at midnight to 30 minutes after the school day. We have defined the school day for the K through 8th grade, or early kinder through 8th grade, as 30 minutes after the after-school programs. That is where we're somewhat stricter, and we're not saying the traditional school day, we're saying the after-school programs. And the second proposal is that we are mandated to adhere to these regulations for all food sales on campus. But we're taking it slightly further to all food served and sold on campus. And we have done that because of the voice of a lot of parents at our wellness committee. Things to keep in mind, these do not apply to evening, weekend, and fundraising events, athletic events. The requirements do not apply. These do not apply to sack lunches brought from home. Schools can still sell up to, high schools can still sell up to 4 days per year as long as they are all student organizations selling on the same day and they meet the federal requirements. And daily sales in snack bars are allowed as long as they meet the daily requirement, the federal requirements. That is the brief 5-minute overview of the student wellness policy. There is so much more involved in our policy. And it would behoove everyone that is interested in this to read it from cover to cover so they understand. But I want to be clear that most of it in there are mandates, except for those 2 proposals. that we brought forth as a committee. I would like to ask people representing our district wellness committee to stand up that are in support of this today and helped draft it. Thank you so much. You also have a letter of support. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Great.
Are there any questions?
Let's see, we have any public comment?
Yes, we have 3 cards.
Okay.
Angela Ash, John Perryman, and Robin Kroc speaking on behalf of Candace Fideli McLeod.
Okay, come on down. And then we'll have board questions and comments.
Good evening, distinguished board members, and welcome, Superintendent Aguilar. My name is Angela Ash, and I am here today as a mother. My child attends David Lubin Elementary School, and as a nutrition educator, I am in support of the updated wellness policy. I applaud and am so enthusiastic about the strong language in this policy, which explicitly states not to deny recess to our children, adding nutrition education to the school day, allowing more time for meals at school, ensuring that fundraisers and classroom incentives forego using sugary foods as incentives, and clean water availability and access. I encourage the board to seek partnerships with local health-focused agencies and institutions such as the nutrition departments at UC Davis and Sacramento State, as well as local cooperative extension offices, which house nutrition education programs, to ensure compliance with this new policy. I would like to see the board add stronger accountability language to the policy to ensure compliance, while also adding incentives, more funding, and recognition to motivate schools to change. We know that behavior change is hard, and carrots always help. Thank you for promoting the health and welfare of our children, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
John Perryman.
So as a teacher, I'm very involved with student activities. The committee published their original version of the board policy in March, about 25 pages long, and my jaw dropped when I read it. I was very concerned about a great many of the provisions. And after reading, 90% of the people who took the survey, 90% of the people were opposed to that version. And I took it to our school site council. The committee presented, and our school site council voted 11-0 to oppose the March version. The committee met in May and June, and I met with them, and they substantially revised the March version, removing most of the onerous sections and cutting the policy to about 19 pages, often over the objections of their more fanatical members. Neither I nor the committee know whether the revised version will face the same level of community opposition. And as such, I urge the board to either allow sites to opt out of any food regulation that exceeds state and federal guidelines, or to delay the vote until school site councils have a chance to review this policy and its effects, attempts to regulate celebrations, potlucks, instruction. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Robin Kroc.
Thank you, board members and superintendent. I'm reading this statement on behalf of Candace Fidel McLeod, a parent and registered nurse who holds a master's degree in community health nursing and has been engaged with the district wellness committee. I support the changes in the district wellness policy, and I'm grateful for the committee's work towards healthfulness for our children. Today I could talk about how 80% of our foods have added sugar, or the pre-diabetic kids I see at work, but instead I want to talk about what's happening within our district and to my daughter. My concern with our current state began immediately upon her entering kindergarten. There was the daily parent-provided snack, of which there were no guidelines. My daughter was eating gummy fruit snacks rather than whole fruit and Oreos and other packaged cookies. I would drop off an energetic kid and pick up a grumpy, hungry one. My 5-year-old, a sponge in her very first year of institutionalized learning, was absorbing that it must be okay if it came from school. This is the message sent to our very youngest kids. But the reason I became involved with the Wellness Committee is because of the argument I was having with my daughter every Monday and Friday when we'd walk past the $1 hot chocolate cart positioned in front of the kindergarten play yard. Fundraiser for the school, she'd beg me for a cup topped with whipped cream, and over I had to explain it's ludicrous to send a child into a classroom after a cup of sugar and caffeine. I know there's opposition to some of the policy changes, but for the short and long-term health of our kids, it is not even a question. It should not even be an option. We must send the right message. Let's teach those children to make fruit smoothies instead. I'd pay $5 for a fundraiser for that. Near the end of her kindergarten year, I was happily surprised to see a fundraiser I could finally get behind, a jogathon. For the first time all year, I pledged money. I dropped my envelope in the slot, and as I walked out, I saw the flyer announcing the kids would get Otter Pops as a reward for the run. And just so you don't think I'm overreacting and out of touch, during the last 4 days of school, my daughter was offered brownies, Otter Pops, pizza on 2 separate days, donuts, Starburst, lemon cake, and ice cream in 4 days for snacks. Let's do better. Let's teach and nourish our children. Please support the wellness policy changes.
Thank you very much. Member Pritchett.
Thank you, President Hansen. First off, I wanted to thank everyone for your hard work on this. I hear that you have spent several hours deliberating on all this, so I really do appreciate it. I have a few questions they're all kind of based on this page 12 in the document that we have in the board packet. The first one has to do with the time that you guys had spoken about in your presentation, starting at midnight and half an hour after the last after-school program. Does that include like 4th R and all those type of programs? It does. Okay. Okay. So and you know I agree about the smoothies and instead of having hot cocoa. I completely agree. But, you know, I come from a world, before becoming a school board member, I was a PTA president for 7 years. My life was based on advocating for kids and fundraising, right? Something like this would really hurt an elementary school, and I'm sure that you probably have heard that and taken that into consideration. So I'm just wondering, like, how can we fix it to where they do offer an alternate nutritional snack instead of the coffee, or not the coffee, whoa, that was a 4-pot, maybe I need coffee. Hot cocoa or brownies or Otter Pops. So that's my first question. My next question is based on number 4 under student organization sales must meet all of the following on that same page. And one of them says the food or beverage item cannot be prepared on campus. How does that affect our culinary programs that are doing sales from their fresh fruits and vegetables that are in their garden and then they're selling after school or during lunch hours? If you want to come up and answer those 2 questions first, that way you guys, you want to come up to the microphone? So I have a few more and I'll get lost in them.
I think your first question was about snacks at school. In the case of the parent at David Lubin, they were brought in snacks from home, provided to the entire class, nothing to do with food service. And the student wellness policy would address that. They would no longer be allowed to bring those items. They can bring lots of other snacks. Yes, fruit. There's lots of other snacks they could bring, but the wellness policy would address that. On your second,
it actually wasn't regarding that. It was regarding like let me give you like a scenario. Let's say the PTA wants to sell fruit smoothies after school, right directly after school at like the 2:30 bell or 3 o'clock bell, right outside the kindergarten classroom.
Right.
Is that
I can tell you that's a mandate. We are no longer allowed to do that. That's a federal and state mandate from midnight to 30 minutes after the bell. They're assuming everybody's off campus by then, and then you're allowed to sell. So when we said we were a little bit stricter, we just included those after-school programs. Had a lot of parents complaining about what was being served to them in those after-school programs. I just heard today that one of them during the summer program was deep frying things in the kitchen. There's a lot of stuff going on out there that we're trying to rein it in just by including those after-school programs.
It's a shame that a few bad things that happened affect some of the good that comes out of it. Because, just being part of organizations that raise funds for, after-school activities or for our kids, this type of policy. I know that you can't fix it. It's a
So I
mandate,
think
it's a
there
mandate,
just has
but
to be
it's just-
creative other ways of fundraising. And I think as a committee, we feel, and there was a lot of community partners that felt that their next form of action would be, let's come up with a great way to still sell, but do it within the requirements. And we do have some great ideas on that, too.
I'd like to hear about, not right now, but I'd like to
Right.
hear, because I could tell you, I've already gotten a lot of feedback, and poor member Ryan, I know I've been like, my community is asking me questions. What do I tell them? Because they really didn't know exactly what the mandate was. So, so what about question 2, about the food or beverage items cannot be prepared on campus? How does that affect our culinary groups?
So we just met with the board policy committee. A few of the board members here were involved in that meeting, and we did want to address that, and we did address that in, do you remember what page it was? Page 11. And I don't know exactly where it is. Requirements for outside food sales. I have stricken out one. Okay. Underlined. Outside foods not meeting local state, okay. Outside foods not meeting local, state, and federal nutritional requirements are allowable for pedagogical or educational purposes in so long as it is relevant to the course curriculum and syllabus. Such educational purposes may include, but are not limited to, ethnic studies and cultural, culinary art courses.
Okay, so they're exempt from that. Okay, thank you. So that answers that question. On the number 7, it says it was the whole other than date 4 days mentioned in number 5 above, only student organizations may sell food or beverages to pupils on schools' campuses per day. You know what, actually, I wrote down a note, and I think you already answered it in your presentation, that athletic events were going to be exempt from that. What about PTA-sponsored events?
The requirements are more about during the school day and who's selling. So if you're outside of those time constraints, there are no requirements.
Well, there are games there's still classes, let's say the band that has an after-school activity, or a color guard that's still at the school site, and then there's a basketball game going on at the same time.
Right. So we addressed that, first of all, at the high schools. We're sticking to the mandate, which is midnight to 30 minutes after the traditional school day. For the middle schools who might have a athletic event, we excluded them. Do you remember which line that was? We excluded them because it's an athletic event.
Okay.
Which, same page?
Yeah, and we didn't specifically say who can sell at that athletic event.
Right.
So it could potentially be a parent-teacher organization that was selling an athletic event.
Right, because that's outside of the school day, so it should be allowable. And I think the thought process behind it was families will have more control over what their kids are eating, and the families are more involved in the evening hours and at the athletic events.
So one of the things I want to, like at my children's school, we do quite a few evening events where like 5th or 6th grade will sell dinner, right? So our intent was to try to rein in what we're offering our students when they're with us, when they're compulsorily, maybe I shouldn't try to use words I can't say, with us. And that if parents are bringing our students to after-school, events or evening events, then it's up to them. If they want to let them do the cakewalk or buy that treat, that's parent discretion.
Okay.
But when I send my student to school, I should be able to have some sort of influence in what they're getting served. So that was really our intention.
Right. So those type of events that you were just talking about, say that the parent-teacher organization is going to do a spaghetti feed, they're still able to come in and cook the spaghetti on campus?
If it's out, well, I won't choose a regulation. If it's outside of that window.
It's outside of the window.
You're okay.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. Is there a date that this needs to be completed by? I mean, I know that you said we're outside the mandate, but we're way over, so at this point.
We're working on it. It's a work in progress, so.
Yeah. This is my thing. I agree with the gentleman from the high school that came up, about having this vetted through some parent groups. I think it's important for us. I know you said we're sticking to the mandate. Well, it's not really even like sticking to the mandate. It is the mandate. We have to stick to it. We need to kind of put it out like that. But I think it's a more of a process of like educating folks, because just sticking this in front of them saying, you're not allowed to do this, then that's when they all come to me and they're like, what's going on? Why'd you pass something like this? So I think it's really important that we start educating and maybe ask for our help. Maybe we can, I know at my school sites, I can reach out to the parent-teacher organizations, the school site councils. They can help educate the rest of the parents for us. Parents training parents, that's what we need to do. And then, lastly, I just want to say that, I've had 2 kids that have gone through K through 12 in Sac City Unified School District. And one of my biggest issues has been our lunch lines. And, if we're going to, these kind of mandates are going to stop from having additional things that they can pick up and eat, then we need to have more resources. And this is mainly for our superintendent of like maybe having staff reevaluate, what's happening during lunch times. Because I know for my children, they would go an entire day without eating because the lines were too long and there's only one lunch hour and it's 25 minutes, right? There is no possible way for 1,200 kids to get through a lunch line that's 25 minutes. So I think that we need to reevaluate our whole lunch process. And elementary schools and junior high, it's kind of a different story. High schools, we've got to reevaluate that. And maybe it's I know some of our larger high schools have a first and a second lunch. When I went through high school, I had a first and a second lunch, but that's not the case for all of our high schools. Some have one lunch, 25 minutes trying to get them all to eat. And, a lot of our kids are at school at 6 a.m. for sports practice, and then they're staying until 5 or 6 at night, and then they're not eating at all because this is just going to even narrow their opportunities, and though I'm fully in support of giving them healthy habits, I just want to make sure that we are in the process of just making sure that we have more healthy choices for them to go to and not just one straight line.
Thank you, Board Member Pritchett. Board Member Minnick?
Oh, thanks. So first, I want to say thank you, because I know this was a ton of work, and Robin, you spent some time with me helping me understand this, and I really appreciate it. I want to thank Kelsey, who came out to West Campus with me at like 7 a.m. for the early morning leadership class, which I believe Sarah was a student at, to help address a very angry group of students that were feeling like they're not going to be able to do any fundraising. And even though I think we didn't necessarily leave that class making people feel that much better, at least they understood that, so much of this is outside of our control. And even though we believe in the idea of making sure all our kids are eating healthy, that there were things that there isn't any give on, and helping them understand that I thought was really important, and it gave them the opportunity to kind of talk through a lot of stuff. So I really appreciate that time. I do have a couple questions. Most of them were already asked by Member Pritchett, so I appreciate that. And my pages are a little bit, I think, off because I was reading a copy that was like cleaned up, so the numbers might be a little off. But one of the points in there, it said that student organizations, regarding fundraising, that when student organizations were to sell any sort of food items, that it would need to be reviewed by the school board or designated officials. And I wondered if there's an idea for a process for that, that you guys have already kind of discussed. It wasn't specified. That was my
We
first
haven't
one.
got a finalized process, but we really would like to push people to the online calculator,
Okay.
which is available on our website. So you could put any kind of nutritional label in there, and it'll tell you whether you can sell it or not in schools.
Perfect, okay. And then, so then they can, then those would necessarily be things they wouldn't have to bring to another official, because they could find items that already meet the requirements. There was also a mention of outside vendor carts and I think it was like 500 feet from the school. And so can we then assume that that'll be the responsibility of the schools to kind of enforce that and shoo people away?
Yes, I mean, I know schools do it already because it can become a safety issue. When I served at Rosa Park, sometimes those carts would be on a corner where traffic is swinging by. So it was our responsibility as staff to make sure they got pushed back just so our kids were safe. It wasn't even about nutrition. It was please don't get hit in front of my portable. So I mean, I think it's good practice as well, just in keeping, you know, if those are choices students want to make, they can have them kind of down the road. It also reduces the traffic issue.
Gotcha. And so then, two more quick things. One, she referenced the culinary arts. It mentioned outside food sales. You had mentioned for ethnic studies and culinary arts. So would, under ethnic studies, things like multicultural fairs and those kind of things, as long as it's food that's not prepared at home or prepared on campus, that like if they're purchased food, how does that work? Because I know a lot of schools will have multicultural fairs with, you know, food options that might not necessarily meet the standard guidelines.
Right, so those food fairs on campus during the school day do need to meet the guidelines. There's no flexibility on that. But we do feel that with our farm to fork effort here in Sacramento, that we could come up with some local restaurants, local purveyors that would have compliant items that we could identify and have a list on our website. These are the companies you can call. They'll come out and do fundraising for you. A percentage goes to the fundraiser, obviously, and it'd be compliant. So that's work that we still have to do.
Okay, cool. And then the last question I had, and forgive me because I looked mostly at the food-related stuff and a little bit of the PE stuff. I didn't know if there was reference in this around recess time, and I know, and I think maybe, Robin, we might have had this conversation at some point around ensuring that students are not having recess taken away as a form of punishment, which I know like kind of historically has happened. I sat on the bench many recesses in my younger years, and so, which might explain why I'm not as athletic as I could be. And so I wasn't sure if that was addressed in this document, if I just didn't get to it or not.
Yeah, it is addressed. I can find the exact page, but yeah, that it won't be used as a punishment, I think, or.
Either way.
Either way.
Either taking away.
So recess time and physical activity stays the same no matter what the behavior situation is for students.
Which I believe is also consistent with the board policy that was passed on restorative practices. So this was such a long process that we had put it in, and then that policy had already passed. So it's just consistent.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Member Bang. Is it Mr. Wu? My numbers.
That's okay. Thank you, Mr. President. So, thank you for last Friday. I want to share with my colleagues that Victoria on the phone, Diana, Robin, Kelsey, Member Vang, Vice President Ryan. On the conference call, we spent a good 2 hours vetting the nuances of this new board policy. But I recall at the end of our conversation that there were some recommendations and changes to languages that were not going to be prepared by the time we came to this board meeting, but would show up in the final version on the 17th. Do you recall what those are? Because I don't. And the reason why I'm mentioning it is because I want my colleagues to know that there's still a few more changes coming before the final approval of the final document.
Yeah, I think you received an email with the additional changes, but I can highlight them for you. On page 10, we just changed the wording around athletics to say athletic concessions at any grade level may be sold 30 minutes after the standard school day and are excluded from the competitive food requirements. So we added that, and then we added your brilliant sentence, that outside foods not meeting local, state, and federal nutritional requirements are allowable for pedagogical or educational purposes, and so long as it is relevant to the course curriculum and syllabus. Such
brilliant.
educational purposes, may include but are not limited to, so we wanted to be inclusive, ethnic studies and culinary arts. So, if you're teaching a Spanish course, I remember this, we had food from Spanish cultures and samples. We did not want to take that away from our students and their educational opportunities, and especially as we move into, more, curriculum around just
Ethnic studies.
Thank you. But also pathways, that's what I was looking for, sorry, career pathways, that if we're going to have a culinary arts class and students are going to spend time crafting something that they can taste it, right? So those were the two changes.
Thank you. And the reason why I asked you to do that is to let share with my colleagues that their concerns have been, were already addressed, and we're kind of anticipating them. And so this is not the final version that we'll be approving at the next board meeting. There'll be a few more changes, but I wanted to share that we spent a lot of time going through the nuances of the languages, the very questions that you're raising.
Member Ryan?
Thank you, Vice President Wu. And see, I didn't forget your name. So, I do want to thank all of the individuals who have put literally hundreds, if not thousands of hours into this process over the course of more than 18 months. This is well-vetted policy. And frankly, I just want to reiterate what Board Member Pritchett said. We are non-compliant. We are not currently meeting minimum obligations of state and federal law. And that's doing a terrible disservice to our students, particularly when we look at research around nutrition and how that correlates with learning. So I am so appreciative of the work that's been done. I also appreciate the thoughtful questions that were posed tonight and the contributions of Board Member Vang and Board Member Wu that made this better policy, as well as so many of the parents who have come to us with concerns and requests to amend the policy to either make it stronger or offer clarification. I think how we roll this out will be everything, and providing that we really figure out appropriate communications tools that help empower our educators and families so they understand what alternative means are for celebration, so they understand how they can have fundraising activities that don't center on sugary foods, right? And I know that we're talking about that, as well as the online calculator as a tool for those families and educators. But I do just want to finish by saying, we did have several hours of conversation on Friday. I am looking forward to, after this first reading, passing this policy, because I think it's the right thing to do for students. And I am so grateful to all the stakeholders who came to the table and said the time is now.
Thank you very much. Member Cochran?
So I would probably guess, aside from Member Pritchett, that I am the only person up here who has been a multi-year club sponsor, done fundraising and worked with students to actually get funding so they can do other activities from the school day, purchase things, have uniforms, buy costumes. This is going to severely impact fundraising, which you are well aware of. It has to be done. It's compliance. But what I would like to see with this policy is, aside from celebrating doing the right thing, giving firm support for the clubs to find the new ways to earn the money. Because it's one thing saying, oh, we're all going to be healthy and let's celebrate. You're undercutting fundraising for bands, for dance groups, for student groups that are supported by teachers and parents that, in communities that don't have a lot of money, but they can bake something to be sold. And so it's a wonderful thing. Thank you. But you're also taking away something very valuable. You're taking away money. So when it comes for the final reading, I'd like to see clear definition about how you're going to support the stripping of this fundraising possibilities.
Sure. You'd like to say something, Robin?
Yeah, thank you. I wholeheartedly agree with you and with Member Pritchard, and with all of the students that have come forward with, especially the high school students, with concerns about the fundraising. I was not aware of the amount of fundraising that high school students have to do for, honestly, some basic high school, what I consider basic high school experiences. And I have been gone off several times about it just because I find it very frustrating. So my work with this project has been funded through the California Endowment, and I feel so strongly about that I went to the funder and said I would like for my scope of work for the coming school year to be about how we help those students learn other fundraising means. It's also about creating the administrative regulations and about how we do the implementation. That's all tied together. But we in no way want to just kind of bring a hammer down, say this is what you have to do now, deal with it. This is such a learning opportunity for the students as well, not just about the food. I mean, fundraising is a great career. There's just, and I've been talking to professional fundraisers about coming in and meeting with the ASBs, providing, after school talks and classes on fundraising and different means of fundraising other than unhealthy food.
So I appreciate that very much, and I think that that's an excellent plan. But when you come back and we do a final vote on this, I don't want plans. I want to know what's going to happen to help these clubs, these sponsors, and these students. Because as you have learned, the reality is extra means you have to earn money. And the best way to earn money is food. Street vendors know that. People know that you earn money with food. And while this is an excellent thing, voting for it, a lot of hard work, doing the right thing, supporting federal and state statutes. What are you doing to the children?
But, I guess I'll just say thank you also for the work that went into this, for the community members. Thank you very much for the time that's involved. I have a question on, maybe you can just explain, it's page 12. It said that when you're talking about the student organization must meet all the following, the food or beverage item cannot be prepared on campus. Is that a state or federal guideline, or is that our idea?
Yeah, that's a
Number
requirement.
4.
For food safety standards, that's a requirement.
So even if they're
Sold for
selling a
foods.
banana and chopping it into 4s, they can't do that. I mean, if they're selling a compliant food and they want to prepare it by
I think a lot of that
cutting
was
it up or
addressing
doing something.
someone cooking something at home and then bringing it in and selling it to
The way I read that says the food item or beverage item cannot be prepared on campus. So
Oh, I'm sorry, on campus.
number 4, yeah. Page 12, student organization sales must meet all the following. One is water.
I think what they mean there is, so maybe there needs to be some clarification on that. What that was regarding is students aren't allowed to make things on campus, literally like slushy machines and things like that have come in when they're making it themselves and they don't have food safety certificates, they don't have license or permit, they're not allowed to do that.
I think we should, as we contemplate and prepare for the brave new world that everyone's going to be entering into here, things like if we're going to, if students are going to do different kinds of things, preparing something to me seems like it could just be, I'm taking a piece of fruit and cutting it up and putting it into a cup. Am I preparing it? I just want to make sure, we just give some, common sense flexibility. So maybe it can be more specific to what it is you think that is aiming to accomplish. So it doesn't pull in other things. And the fact is, people are selling things that are consumed on the spot, and there's not a lot of things that are consumed on the spot besides food or beverage. So it could be extraordinarily complicated to figure out how to compensate for loss of sales, but I also believe in the entrepreneurship of our students and community, and I suspect that in time, we will get there, because I don't think where we're at now didn't happen overnight. It's been many years of just kind of allowing it to happen, and it is absolutely, a lot of it is absolutely unhealthy. And, I work in the medical world, and I see firsthand the complications of a lifetime of ill health and learning bad food habits at an early age. Stays with you the rest of your life, and it does take years off your life, and at tremendous cost to society and medical costs, and not only to the person and their families. So I just appreciate all the hard work that went into this, and I know there's more hard work to do, and if something's a policy can be changed at any point in time by the board. It doesn't only have to happen once every 3 years or whatever. So if we find something obviously that to me is not working, we've got a good common sense board, and I believe a common sense superintendent and staff, and I think that we can get there and work through this as long as we understand, these documents are fluid. So there's no other comment. Thank you very much. And we will move to item 10.3. Thank you very much. Chung, welcome.
Good evening. Good evening, President Hansen, Superintendent Aguilar, and members of the board. Tonight, I bring to you for approval our 45-day budget revision based on the state's adopted budget. I will talk about what the state adopted budget means to us, provide information on one-time funds in the state budget and the proposed federal budget. The governor signed the state budget on June 27th. By law, we have 45 days to revise our budget. This means the 45-day revise must be approved by August 11th. Our budget revision in a nutshell: we will receive an additional $5.6 million in one-time funding. This is based on $147 per ADA. By comparison, in 2016-17, we received $9.1 million in one-time funds, a difference of $3.5 million. Of this year's $5.6 million, $1.5 million will be to restore the construction debt service payment for the Cerner Center and Charles A. Jones Skill Center. As you may recall, we restored our youth engagement programs near the end of June. We said we would pay back at that time the $1.5 million to the Cerner Center and Charles A. Jones construction debt service payment if we received one-time dollars. This is that restoration. Slide 4 is another way to show the information from the previous slide. We have the $5.6 million on one-time revenue, the return of our the $1.5 million to debt service payment, so that funds can be used to improve facilities. Our net change to our ending fund balance is $4 million. In our original adopted budget, we had deficit spending of $20 million. With the $4 million, we project a deficit spending of $16 million. We are still deficit spending. The sooner we reduce spending, the less painful it will be. We cannot continue to deficit spend. We are almost at full implementation of LCFF funding. This year we'll be at 97%. We have 3% to go over the next 3 years, an average of 1% per year. This means our LCFF revenues will flatten out as our costs continue to increase. One of our biggest challenges is less money will be coming in and pension costs are increasing. Moving from our district to the larger state picture, most of the state's one-time funds are now competitive and have strings attached. They are beginning to return to the old categorical funding model. On this slide shows our district receives some of these benefits from these programs. In the California Calified School Employee Teacher Credentialing Program, we partnered with the Sacramento County Office of Education. SCOE received the money, and we currently have 7 classified employees in the program to become teachers. The California Grown Fresh School Meals Grant Program, we applied for and received funding for Cesar Chavez and John Still. This is intended to help bring fresh fruits and vegetables to our students. On this next slide includes one-time funding throughout the state that we do not currently receive benefits for. It includes $10 million for school districts with high refugee populations. We did not meet the threshold. $5 million was allocated statewide for the Bilingual Teacher Professional Development Program. The state is still working on the legislation from this program. $2.5 million is for the California Equity Performance and Improvement Program and is currently only for technical assistance for the school dashboard. No funds have yet been released or announced for LEAs. If we should receive any of these funds, we will include them in the budget at that time. Moving from the state picture to the federal picture, the federal budget proposal for education would affect our 18-19 budget. Our district's general fund is about 10% federally funded, or about $51.5 million. The federal budget slightly reduces funding for English language acquisition, rural education, migrant education. It also proposes maintaining Title I funding, but drives the efforts for school choice. The federal proposal further includes elimination of all the 21st century after-school grants and Title II. The district currently receives about $3.3 million in Title II funds. What does this mean for our future? Our projected costs exceed our projected revenues. Required payments for pension and health care costs, combined with the leveling off of funding increases, will make it challenging to fund essential academic services that are needed to ensure that all students graduate with the greatest number of post-secondary choices from the widest array of options. Our next steps include bringing the unaudited actuals to you on September 21st and our first interim by December 15th. Thank you. Other questions or comments?
Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, we have 3 cards. John Perryman, Karen Sweat, and Liz Guillen.
Good evening.
Good evening, Karen Sweat, Making Sense Work. I'm going to start with an apology. I not only sound like a stuck record, I am a stuck record. What you're looking at is a PowerPoint. It is not a budget. On June 28th, you had a 32-page PowerPoint. That was not a budget. So the word is out that the new guy on the block is a data geek. And I'm hoping that this is true. And I'm hoping that not only the Budget Advisory Committee, but the entire board will start looking at budgets and not PowerPoints. You adopted a 32-page PowerPoint. You need 2 pages of the budgets, and you have everything. The PowerPoints that you're looking at tonight and the one on the 28th, about 80% of them, a little bit over 80% are devoted to getting money, how much we're going to get. There's very little about expenditures. Your expenditures in your budget, and I'm talking about diving a little deeper than just your major object codes, set and describe the district's priorities. It's very important to see how you're planning on spending the money, and it's detailed in a budget document, not in the PowerPoints. And then there's just one more point. The last slide, next steps, the unaudited actuals are due to the county on the 15th of September, so they're going to have to be presented before June 30th. And this is by ed code, and this is a non-waivable ed code. Budgets, not PowerPoints.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. Liz Guillen with Public Advocates. Of course, I'm going to talk about the relationship to the LCAP, right? Okay. There should be some relationship between the budget and the LCAP. On a really positive side, Sac City's LCAP expresses close to 85% of its general fund, which is really good compared to districts around the state. Some districts only include just S&C, supplemental and concentration, in their LCAP, which is pretty astonishing. But because it's not all of the general fund, it's really hard. It's really hard to make sense of when the budget changes, how does that affect the LCAP? I know that Kathy Morrison, the LCAP coordinator, is focusing on this as well, and frankly, she and I are both pulling our hair out trying to understand the figures, given that we have a new LCAP template this year. So it is concerning. Public Advocates in the ACLU wrote a letter and sent it out yesterday statewide to county superintendents and district superintendents about issues that we have seen in LCAPs, and it does include some budget relationship issues and transparency, which of course is the key to meaningful participation. If you don't have the information, it's hard to make recommendations or even to support a budget, because ultimately you want everybody in the community to understand that you are spending all your money the best way possible, because it's not enough, it's inadequate, and you want everybody to come to the ballot or to whatever policymaking table there is to say, our district does the best it can with the money that it has. You're not quite there yet, but I think you are getting closer, you're getting better. Thanks.
Thank you.
And we have two more cards that came in, Carl Pinkston and Grace Trujillo.
Good evening, Board Chairperson or President Hanson and Superintendent Aguilar. My name is Carl Pinkston. I'm with the Black Parallel School Board. I really haven't thought through much of this particular item, but to say a couple of things. One is, as discretionary funds, I strongly suggest that we take a look at as to what this one-time fund is actually earmarked for. And I'm deeply concerned that this one-time fund is actually ending up in the ending fund balance to be used for future uncertainties. I think what one-time funds simply means is that you have to use it for what the legislature and the governor had signed that funding ought to be used for. So if it's supposed to be used now, I think we should re-look at exactly what those one-time funds are going to be used for, particularly the $4 million that's going into the one-time funding. The second, I understand the concern about the uncertainty in the future. I kind of get it now, since this stock market's at 22,000 lately, and there's a threat that there's a bubble and something's going to pop. But I think there's also what this district has been seriously thinking about, looking at new revenue sources. When we attempted to had our opportunity, and we came close with Measure G as a new funding stream that I think this district should seriously relook at again. That's one. Two, it also should seriously relook at what does it mean to generate additional new funding stream in 3 years out. And what that would basically mean is that if you redesign the district where it has become the destination district, where all the other districts from Elk Grove, Rancho Cordova, Twin Rivers, parents begin to look at our district, I think you will see a different an increase in terms of the ADA. I think we need to look at this differently But also understand that I don't think there's going to be an economic crack or bust in 2 years. It is coming, but I think at the same time, we ought to take a look at, in the next 2 or 3 years, really looking at the funding to catch up for our kids who lost out in 2009 and 10.
Thank you. And Grace.
Good evening, Superintendent and members of the board. My name is Grace Trujillo, and as you can tell, I'm still catching my breath from running into it. Baseball, all kinds of activities, but I always take the time, like always, for the budget. One of the key things that I think, I had an opportunity, I came back from Las Vegas from a tax conference, and it was really interesting seeing the pinpoint of other states regarding education. I got an opportunity to talk to different people, and I think that one-time fund is very important to use it wisely. You know, because we have to look at different pinpoints of what's happening throughout our state, as well as what's happening in our nation. And one of the key things that I think everybody was talking about is education. And there's billions of dollars that go into it, as we said before. But what's happening now is the outcome. As tax preparers, we're trying to figure out how are we going to hire people from other countries, because the current people that we have is not meeting the criteria. The other day I had dinner with my husband, and it's funny how I was overhearing someone's conversation, and by the way, they were professors, and they were saying that kids were graduating with A's and B's, but they couldn't even write a paragraph at the professional level at a university. I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, you know, what do we need to do? There's all these wonderful policies in place. It'd be wonderful if they were being followed, but they're not. We're finding different strategies of how to tweak the numbers, how to sugarcoat things, and how to cover up the policies in order to be successful, instead of trying to figure out the bottom line is how to educate our kids. And as a tax professional, not to be worried about hiring other people from other countries. They're educating their kids with less amount of money. And now they're coming to our country, our state, and getting jobs, because our schools, our universities, the different entities, for some reason, no matter how much money we're putting in there, we're not producing a product that's being adequately. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so done with public comment. Are there any questions or discussion with board members? Okay, this is an item from conference to action, but before we do that, Mr. Wu.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as the chair of the board of the Budget Committee, I'm going to move this item from conference to action. Laura, thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor of moving this from conference to action, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? Now it is before us as an action item. Any discussion or questions? Do I have a motion?
I'll move the budget.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. Gloria, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Tell Gerardo he skated on that one. All right, 10.4. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Hanson, Superintendent Aguilar, and members of the board. My name is Ted Appel. This is Cindy Nguyen. And we're here to seek your approval for the declaration of need for fully qualified educators for the 2017-2018 school year. Title V of California Education Code requires school districts to submit an annual declaration of need for qualified educators during the regularly scheduled board meeting. That's why we're here. It provides flexibility as needed in order to fill positions in identified areas when educators meet the minimum qualifications to apply for permits through the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing. This year, areas of need include English language authorizations, resource specialists, librarians, and some limited assignment permits in special education, single and multiple subject. District efforts to recruit and hire fully prepared educators in identified areas of need include working with Sac State to develop a dual credential cohort, offering open contracts by collaborating with local universities and intern programs, and going outside the state seeking qualified applicants. It is the staff recommendation to approve this budget, this agenda item.
Available for question.
Yeah. Questions, comments, sorry.
Public comment? No public comment. Any questions or discussion, my board members? Seeing none, do I have a motion to move it from conference to action? And a second? Yes. Okay, we're going to bid over there. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, oppose, abstain. Thank you. It's now in action. Any questions, comments from the board? I have a motion and a second. Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Thank you very much. Item 10.5.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Hanson, Superintendent Aguilar, members of the board. We're here to, my name is Ted Appel. This is Cindy Nguyen, who will be presenting to approve the submission of credential waiver application to the California Commission on Teacher Credentialing for ROTC, for one ROTC teacher, 3 CTE teachers, 1 BCLAD teacher, and 5 out-of-country and 1 out-of-state teacher.
Good evening, Board President Hanson, members of the board, Superintendent Aguilar. Ed Code allows school districts to waive a portion of the requirement for certificated teachers in order to allow time for program completion. California Commission on Teacher Credentialing requires that every waiver request go through a board public notice process at the local level and must be board approved in a public meeting prior to the submission of the employing agency to CCTC. Areas requested in this waiver are for English language authorization and basic skills. This waiver will enable our teachers in these difficult to fill positions the opportunity to complete the requirements set forth by CCTC and to remain in their positions and continue their work with students. All educators listed in your board packet currently holds a valid California preliminary teaching credential for 5 years in their respective areas. Staff recommends approving this waiver request. We're available for any questions.
Have any public comment? Okay, questions or comments from the board? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? All right, abstain, opposed. Thank you. Any questions or comments on the action item? I have a motion and a second somewhere. Second, there we go. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're on communications. CSA, SCTA. Welcome.
Hello, I'm David Fisher, President of SCTA. Good evening, President Hanson and board members, and on behalf of the 2,800 or so members that Sacramento City Teachers Association represents, I want to give a warm welcome to Superintendent Jorge Aguilar. Bienvenidos y les deseamos mucha suerte. Before I proceed, I also wanted to take a minute to express my appreciation for my predecessor, Nikki Molesky, for her tireless advocacy on behalf of educators and students in our district. Fortunately for all of us, especially me, she's continuing her work as the Vice President of SCTA, which is great comfort for me, and we've worked together as a team for years and will continue to do so going forward. I think all of you were at the last night's reception, and I think you'll agree that there was a tangible, and still is a tangible, sense of real possibility for the first time in a while in our district. In the short time that we've worked with Superintendent Aguilar, we've had an opportunity to see the potential to realize our dream to make Sac City the destination district for California. Fundamental to that vision is ensuring that every student in Sac City has the opportunity to learn from a fully credentialed educator who reflects the diversity of our district, a goal that is shared as the #1 priority by the community survey in our most recent LCAP plan. We're eager to work with Mr. Aguilar to create a teacher recruitment and retention program bolstered by the district status as a safe haven district, beginning with our partnership with DACA-eligible educators and expanding out from there. Doesn't come cheap. Real recruitment and retention will take a healthy allocation of resources. Fortunately, our district remains in the best financial position in history. We are also extremely encouraged by the possibilities at Hiram Johnson High School. After years of neglect, the search for a new principal in an inclusive process that provides real and meaningful input from all stakeholders creates this opportunity for a transformative change at Hiram Johnson. Just like the process for the selection of our new superintendent has introduced a new burst of energy and enthusiasm at the district at the top, the selection of a visionary, innovative, collaborative leader at Hiram Johnson will be a dramatic step forward. Similarly, we're pleased to be on pace to pilot a new ELA, English Language Arts, and ELD, English Language Development curriculum this fall. Our joint committee between SCTA and the district has been hard at work all summer and expect to be ready to pilot this fall. Finally, we look forward to putting an end to the for-profit startup venture, also known as HippoMD. While we understand the potential benefits of telehealth, we don't believe the district should have ever been involved in enabling a for-profit venture run as a rogue operation by a former administrator, which transferred public funds and resources to for-profit corporation. We look forward to working with the new superintendent and utilizing the appropriate channels, particularly the district's director of health services, to create programs that actually promote health of the district's children and not the financial health of a for-profit startup. I want to conclude by again expressing our appreciation for the new Superintendent Aguilar and look forward to building a strong, constructive, and productive relationship that will succeed in making Sac City the destination district for California. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. SEIU? Teamsters? UPE? Right, very well. To the District Parent Advisory Committees, CAC? Welcome.
Thank you, and hello, everyone. Again, I'd like to welcome you, Jorge, to our district, and we're really excited that you're here, and we're looking forward to working with you. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation to attend our CAC meeting on August 22nd. We look forward to hearing what your vision is for special education, as well as for parents to have a chance to come and discuss needs of the students. And we have a parent group that attends our meetings. It's called Apoyo para Padres y Padres, and they're going to be coming, and they're really looking forward to meeting you as well. And I hope everybody got a copy of our brochure that we prepared for this year. We've got a schedule of events throughout the year. We're working on having it translated, and we know that parents being engaged in their child's education is a major factor in student achievement, and we know that the district LCAP has tried to establish a baseline for CAC attendance, which we gave the LCAP coordinator at the end of the year, our baseline. So moving forward into this year, we know what that is, and we can work to try to increase that. Currently, we only have about 15 parents who are actual members of the committee, but we do get a lot of community members and parents who come to the meetings. They don't always end up becoming members, but it's just a tiny, tiny percentage of the students with disabilities in our district. Because the last time we counted or got a count, it was 6,800 students. So that's a teeny tiny percentage. We want to work on boosting that. And we are in the plans right now of working with the district to get more assistance with distributing our brochures out to the schools and communicating our information. And our workshop on September 19th is going to be best practices for creating an inclusive school climate for students with disabilities. And we'd really like for the principals to come and have it be a forum for that, for principals and school sites. And so we invite everyone to come, and we'll be sending special invitations out to all the schools. We also have our annual special education meet and greet ice cream social on September 26th. And forgot to mention, but we have childcare. We're so thankful that we have childcare and translation at all of our meetings. So that's been just so helpful. And then we're planning a special education strategic roundtable discussion to follow up on the recommendations of the audit. And we would like to have you guys come so that we can learn about what are the plans, where are we, what are the timelines, and what can we expect. And we'd really like to be involved in working towards some of those recommendations. We hope that the board is considering our requests. We requested that the board form a special board committee related to special education, and that they hire a neutral consultant to work alongside the superintendent to implement those recommendations of the audit. And lastly, we hope that our concerns are being heard about the appendix in the teacher's contract entitled Special Education Student Inclusion, Appendix D. We hope that this appendix will be removed from the contract due to the reasons we've stated since 2014. We've been coming and discussing that. And so we're really eager to know what the plans are with that and hope to hear more soon. And just want to say thank you to all of you, and I hope it's going to be a great year. And thanks for supporting all the students. Good night.
Thank you very much. DLAC? Yes. Please.
Thank you very much. So in lieu of having a representative here tonight, I'd like to say on behalf of the District English Learner Advisory Committee, a very resounding bienvenidos, Mr. Aguilar. And we are very, very eager to have his input on help in building a strong DLAC and ELAC structure at the school sites. We need to get officers elected, and we need to hopefully emulate a lot of the wonderful work that CAC does, CAC, such as the brochure, the meetings, the information lines of communication that go out to the parents. So thank you, and we're looking forward to working with the new superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kate, Indian Education Parent Committee, LCAP Committee. All right, very well. We will move to item 11.3, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, President Hansen, and good evening. Buenas noches a todos. I, first of all, want to just share how excited and honored I am that I'm giving my first report to the Board of Trustees. I want to thank the Board of Trustees for entrusting me with the lives of our students and for welcoming me to the community of Sacramento. I often talk about how I first am a community member in Sacramento now, and I'm excited and proud to be here now as a neighbor. And then I'm your superintendent as well. It really is a tremendous honor the amount of welcomes that I've received and my family has received. We really, really do appreciate it. The first month has gone by very, very quickly, but I feel that those welcomes and those gestures started on the day that I was appointed on May 4th, and that's been some time ago. I want to thank our staff that have put in extra hours to ensure that this transition was very seamless for me. In particular, Deputy Superintendent Lisa Allen, who organized a great many meetings for me, and I know that she was in a position where she was providing direct support to our outgoing superintendent while she was helping me prepare for my transition. So I very much appreciate that, Deputy Superintendent Allen. I do want to report that I've started in earnest to begin building working relationships with many of our partners, education colleagues, civic business, as well as our labor partners. And I'm looking forward to doing more of that. Obviously, building relationships is going to be key to our success. We cannot succeed on our own as much as sometimes we try to. Therefore, we will continue to welcome partnerships with a wide array of partners. In that vein, I do want to let the board know that we've begun the process of identifying systems that need enhancements, our DNA, if you will, to ensure that we're using data proactively, that we're treating data with a great deal of respect, all in the spirit of making sure that we identify more efficient ways to ensure that all students are given an equal opportunity to graduate with the greatest number of post-secondary choices from the widest array of options. And I will continue to keep the board, communicate with the board as we continue to implement some of those new systems, policies, and procedures. On that point, I said last night at Mayor Steinberg's reception, and do invite members of our community, those that are watching our meeting or will watch the meeting, that on August 31st, details will be forthcoming. We want to invite you to a press conference where we will be making an announcement on how we intend to increase graduation rates. That is a clarion call that has been made very clear to me by our Board of Trustees as well as our entire community. And we owe it to this community to ensure that we increase graduation rates. So I invite you on August 31st at least to put a save the date in your calendars, and details are forthcoming. I want to also make very clear to our audience that I do want to hear from you. I hope that in the future these board meetings will be attended by many more residents, that those that do regularly attend invite other individuals as well. And I say that because the way that we are going to begin to improve the educational outcomes of our students will require greater engagement from our community. And so I intend to spend more time in our community, and hopefully that will result in more community members being engaged with Sac City as well. I don't want to spend too much of my time talking about why I think it's important for a school district to empower its constituents and residents. I saw the effect of my own family not feeling empowered and not being empowered, and I hope that we can work together to empower our community to improve the academic outcomes of our students. So with that, President Hansen, I'll conclude my report.
Thank you very much. I believe we have
one
a public comment.
Alex Basea.
Welcome. Go Giants.
Times is running late. Board President Jay Hansen, Student Board Member Sarah Nguyen, welcome. Distinguished Board of Trustees, Cabinet staff, parents, and community. Superintendent Senor Aguilar, sir. On May 4th, the regular board meeting, trustees unanimously voted you as our next CEO of this district. After your brief remarks to the board and to the community at large, each board member followed with superlative accolades and warm welcome to you and your family. Then others followed by at least 40 parents, community, and even today or this evening. But for me, I must err on the side of caution. Now that you're officially on board, allow me to express my sincere welcome to you and your family into our school district. Congratulations and thank you. Lately, I was often asked by your predecessors, interim included, if and when I am ready to retire. I said it once and I say it again. I pledge to you that I will keep on fighting the good fight, always on behalf of all students and families of this district. One final thought. My name is Alex Visaya, a community advocate. I am cautiously optimistic that you and us will continue to honor, overhead please, will continue to honor and preserve our district logo. And here is for all others to see, putting children first. Well, Mr. President, sir, I yield the lectern back to you. Please continue to the rest of this evening's agenda. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you.
I will also add my words of welcome to our new superintendent. The reception we had last night, I think, was a very fitting one to welcome you to Sacramento and your family to be, part of our community. A lot of people are really excited, and I had a chance to talk to several folks today, and just left a lot of really good feelings, and I think there's a lot of positiveness that Sacramento as a community is on the move, and the school district is going to be a big part of the support that people are looking for to keep making Sacramento a really amazing place to live. And let me also assure you, this is a very calm meeting, so our attendance can grow very rapidly at a drop of a hat. So I welcome, of course, as many community members as possible, but it is kind of nice to have a calm meeting too during the summertime. I've had a chance to go visit some of the construction projects that are happening around the district. It is just amazing to see the kinds of transformation that are happening on some of our campuses. I'm just so super excited for the students to come back. They're going to be blown away by some of the things we're doing. And I think when the public has the opportunity to see the new work that we're doing at Kit Carson, International Baccalaureate, and at McClatchy, and a lot of the other campuses, we're really putting the public's money to very good use, and I think it's a great expenditure of our bond funds, and it's going to keep our community being a strong supporter of our district and of education. So I want to thank Kathy and your staff for really doing a great job. It's the busiest time of the year for you when a lot of other people are vacationing. You're doubling down on the work, so keep it up, and hopefully we'll make time for vacations for your staff, after school's been open for a couple weeks and you fix all the other final problems that pop up. I know there's been a little bit of, some staff turnover too with principals and, such, and so that's another busy part that's being addressed. And it's important to do a lot of the recruitment to make sure we have principals and key teachers and roles. So I know that a lot of that work is happening. And then finally, later on this month, we'll be doing a board retreat. It'll be our second one of the year. I'm excited about that. It's a really great opportunity for us to come together as a board and to work with the superintendent and senior staff to, put together our game plan for this next upcoming school year. So that's very exciting for me. So, that being said, no public comments there. We'll move to 11.5. And welcome to our new student board member. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll look forward to working with you this year.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. It's been a while since the Student Advisory Council has come into the board, come to talk to the board, and since then we've been working on the initiative of the conference. But because of the shift in leadership, we're taking a different spin on it. With an emphasis on student engagement, we want to encourage the students to be more active in their community and take leadership positions. So instead of doing a conference based on the transition from 8th grade to 9th grade, we're going to do leadership and how they can be active participants in the community service, student advisory council, so stuff like that. So it's a little bit shifted. It's going to take place on September 27th during, it's going to be in place of a YCM, but it's going to take the entire school day. So that's what our plan is for this event.
Do you have a location yet?
It will actually be at the Cerna Center.
Okay.
In this room.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. We'll make sure we keep it clean for you, so. All right, wonderful, thank you very much. Now, if we have any board members that would like to share some information, Member Cochran?
Thank you. Just an announcement, there will be a community meeting at Hiram Johnson. This community meeting will be to get input on what the community, teachers, staff, and all who come, what they desire to see in a new principal at Hiram Johnson. Tuesday, August 8th, 6 p.m., Hiram Johnson Little Theater. That's at the corners of 14th Avenue and 65th Street.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Member Minnick?
I just wanted to take this chance to welcome our new member, Sarah Nguyen, who is awesome and goes to West Campus, so go Warriors. And I just want to thank her for committing her time to being here with us. I've had a chance to work with her off and on since I joined the board in December, and I've been really impressed with all the things that she's been doing with the Student Advisory Committee. So I am very excited at what you're going to bring to us here on the board.
Wonderful. Member Ryan?
Thank you, President Hansen. I'll be very brief. I just wanted to invite everyone in the audience and those who are watching to our Oak Park Peace Walk that is going to be occurring tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at New Hope Baptist. Many of you know we have had an unfortunate recent wave of violence resulting in the death of 8 individuals, including many young people. And we are doing weekly peace walks in an effort to talk to our neighbors and students and encourage them to be part of the solution that really is about creating hope in our community and coming together.
Thank you. Okay, wonderful. We'll move to board committee reports, Facilities Committee.
The only report that I have is that our next Facilities Committee meeting will be held on August 8th at 5:30. I'm looking over to Kathy for permission. At 5:30, it'll be held. We are trying to rotate schools and areas so that way everybody has an opportunity to come to a facilities committee. So our next one will be held at John F. Kennedy High School. And Kathy, do we have a room reserved yet? Okay, well, it'll be on our website, correct? Okay, so if you have any questions and you'd like to come to the facilities committee, I can be reached from the SCUSD website.
Thank you. Board Budget Committee.
Thank you. So the Budget Committee met on July 27th. We discussed the revisions, the 45-day revisions to the budget. Normally, the next Budget Committee meeting would be August 24th, but to accommodate board members who can attend, we are moving it to Tuesday, August 22nd. Same time, though, same room from 5 to 6:30. I think it's in the room next to
this
the...
room.
Huh?
Kansas room.
Kansas. Thank you.
Good. Academic Committee. Indiana, yeah, next to Kansas.
And they're, they both have hurricanes, right?
All right. So the next academic committee meeting will be on Monday here at Cerna Center. Dr. Taylor, in which room? Indiana room, the one with hurricanes? I don't know. I've never been to Indiana. So that'll be on Monday, 1:30 to 3. We're going to be continuing. Our committee tends to be more of a free-form discussion, brainstorming, and we're going to continue our discussion on growth mindset at the district. We also have former Principal Darrell White, who will be coming in and doing a presentation on zero-based grading that we're very excited about, and we're going to be previewing data from the state data dashboard. So it is public, and you're all welcome to come and be part of the conversation.
Wonderful, thank you. And finally, Governance and Policy Committee.
So we just had our Governance and Policy Committee, a 4-hour meeting on Friday, but we do not have a date for our upcoming meeting. I'll make sure that we release that and encourage the public to attend once we've set that. Oh, we do? August 25th?
August 25th.
1 to 3. So we do have a date, August 25th, 1 to 3.
Thank you.
Very efficient, very efficient.
You weren't quick enough on the draw.
All right. Item 12.0, information received. Our next board meeting will be August 17th, same place, same time. We look forward to seeing you then. Member Nguyen, do I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. How about try? So moved. Thank you. There's a move. Is there a second? Second. And a second. All in favor? Aye. Oppose, abstain. Thank you very much. Yes.
We got some puppeteers over there. Michael.
He's a hard worker. He's a big